I rise today with deep sadness to mark the passing of Earl Eastman, a councillor with the Municipal District of St. Stephen.
Eastern Charlotte actually gets a hockey team. St. Stephen gets a hockey team.
Libraries, of all things, it just seems so far-fetched to us that that's where we would choose to cut funding.
Welcome to This Week Uncut, where we take a look at the top stories of the week from CHCO-TV and The Courier. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon. We're starting this episode in Penfield, where there was a significant apartment fire. Vicki, you and Patrick went to the scene. What did you observe when you were there?
This was Wednesday night. We've heard from RCMP that the fire broke out around 6:20 p.m. We were there a little bit before 8:30, so 2 hours into the fire. When we arrived, we really did see it consume the whole building. We were there for, I'd say, about half an hour in time, and as you can see from the footage, it got to a point where it was devastating very quickly. The fire department from Eastern Charlotte was on scene, but they were also assisted by members of the St. Andrews Fire Department, members of the Musquash Fire Department, as well as members from St. Stephen. So as we see often in Charlotte County, it's a group effort trying to handle these fires. Obviously, the sad news that we learned from this fire is that a woman who is 73 years old, resident of the apartment, died. We are waiting for the full report as to the cause of her death, but right now RCMP is saying they don't suspect foul play was involved, and will obviously continue to cover the story as it unfolds. But definitely some sad news for the community.
Yeah, you were sending me pictures from the scene, and it sort of seemed like a minute-by-minute collapse of that building. But I did reach out to the Red Cross to see what they're doing for the other residents of that building. So they're assisting 7 other individuals from 2 households with personal items, clothing, hygiene products, that sort of thing, and they'll continue to support them through their partnership with Eastern Charlotte Fire Department.
And obviously, as we deal with issues such as covering a housing shortage in New Brunswick, these make these kind of situations all the more devastating. It means that there's one less building available for residents as well.
Yeah.
Moving on to more sad news from the community, if we go over to St. Stephen, we heard of Earl Eastman. He's a councillor for Ward 3 in St. Stephen. Shocking news this week as we saw him at council the week before. Earl Eastman has passed away.
Yeah, so we got the alert from the Alertable app, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, sorry, and I immediately phoned to let you know. But Earl Eastman is a councillor of Ward 3. He was first elected in 2023, and we're going to show this clip a little bit later, but you showed me some of his comments from the 2022 Meet the Candidates. He was a really good defender of his constituents, and I haven't been covering St. Stephen for very long, but I've become very close, and I understand the characters around the table, and Earl was never afraid to ask tough questions when they needed to be asked, and he was often saying the quiet part out loud. He wasn't a fan of amalgamation, and he made that very well known, but he made the best of it, right? And he was a good defender of his rural constituents, which is a big part of councils now, because a lot of them have taken in rural environments into urban areas.
Celebrated veteran, I think even before he joined council, he was really well known, well loved in the community. His background in the military really speaks for itself on his accomplishments and what he was willing to do, not just for his community, but for his entire country. He came back to council. He ran for council at age 64 when most people would be considering retirement. He really felt that St. Stephen was worth fighting for, and that's what drew him back into fighting for his community and stepping up to the plate. And I remember when it was amalgamation and we were holding these candidates nights, not just for mayors but for council as well. There were 23 people from St. Stephen who put their names forward to run. Earl Eastman was one of them, so everyone had about 3 minutes to address the camera and say why they would be a great representative of their community, and this is what Earl Eastman had to say.
My name is Earl Eastman. I was born and raised here. My ancestral roots actually started before even this became a town. We were a town of shipbuilders at the time, and I went on to go into the military after high school, and I spent 33 years within the military itself. I've been all over the world. I've been all over every province in Canada. I've seen and experienced quite a lot. And we deal, like you're saying, dealing with the homelessness and stuff like that. I've been in refugee camps and all about, our problem is around here is with the drug problem, of course. And in that, in town council, this is one of the problems we'll have to attack for sure. Policing is another thing, because with drugs, people go out and start to steal, and then you have to involve in the policing. With that, with the town council and such, I'm a team player. In the military, we were born and bred to do that in the leadership roles. In my stint in the military, my last tour was overseas in Afghanistan. It's the size of Saskatchewan. I had 100 people working for me, and I was fiscally responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars, actually. So, again, within here in the town itself, I think I can apply my leadership skills and experience within the fiscal spending of what we need to do and what the province is going to let us do. I wasn't a big fan of the amalgamation. However, being in the LSD for the last 3 years as part of the committee, it was apparent that we were going to end up having to amalgamate. So I felt that maybe I should step up at 64 years old, when I should be retiring, and give it a shot to help out, be part of the team, and see the town progress. This town has got lots of potential, tons of potential. A good business plan, a good council together with a business plan, and a wide vision that's out there, we can do lots of stuff. We can actually make this town grow. So, again, I threw my name in the hat and for Ward 3, and if you think I'm the right guy, vote for me.
Definitely sad news for the entire community. I think even beyond St. Stephen, he was such a well-known individual.
Yeah, and MLA Kathy Baucus had a few things to say about him in the Legislative Assembly Friday morning.
Introduction of guests, présentation d'invités, condolences. I recognize the member for St. Croix.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could have a little bit of extra time. I rise today with deep sadness to mark the passing of Earl Eastman, a retired Master Warrant Officer with the Canadian Armed Forces, a National President of the Canadian Army Veterans Motorcycle Unit, and a councillor with the Municipal District of St. Stephen. I have spoken with his widow, Charlene, or Charlie as she is known to friends and family. Charlie is also a veteran. Charlie said how tragic it was for Earl to survive 3 conflicts overseas, only, to use her words, to be taken out by a stroke. She spoke of Earl's dedication to his country, his family, and his community. Earl had a 33-year career in the military as a trained technologist in the electrical and mechanical engineering field. As a counselor, Earl promoted fiscal restraint, good governance, emergency preparedness, and was a staunch proponent of transparent and accountable government. Earl accumulated many accomplishments throughout his military career and was rewarded for his military dedication and professionalism with the Queen's Silver Jubilee Medal, the King's Coronation Medal, the Special Service Medal, Canada's 125th Medal, the Canadian Forces Peacekeeping Medal, the Canadian Forces Decoration with Bar, the Chief of Defence Staff Commendation, and 6 different campaign medals. Earl was also a commander of the Knights of St. George. Earl served in many far-off locations around the globe in places such as Norway, 2 tours in Cyprus, and tours in Croatia, Yugoslavia, Ethiopia, Bosnia, and Afghanistan. Earl will be deeply missed by his family, his Legion comrades, his community, and the multitude of friends who will always remember him. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
That was MLA Kathy Baucus talking about Councillor Earl Eastman. He died earlier this week. Our thoughts are with his friends, family, and those who knew him. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with This Week Uncut.
Now these are junior level hockey, junior level hockey. There'll be students brought in probably from different countries. They'll bring in to fill they have to try out for the team, and they'll be brought in, and these students, these players will be part of the school system.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth. We actually have some exciting sports news to start off with in this segment of the show, which is that both Eastern Charlotte and St. Stephen are going to be getting National Collegiate Development Conference teams going into the 2025-2026 season. So this is a huge deal for both communities, but not just the communities, because I think Charlotte County, I think we'll all be rooting for one or the other, if not both of these teams. What were your thoughts when you heard this news?
I admittedly don't do a lot of sports reporting, so I asked my partner Liam, who loves hockey and loves college hockey, to give me a crash course in this. And so a good journalist always does her research. But this is an interesting league, I think, that is going to prepare young junior hockey players for college level hockey and potentially an NHL debut. There's no guarantee of that, obviously. It's very hard to make the NHL. But the United States Premier Hockey League is actually the overarching governing body of the organization that you mentioned, and they have 10,000 players at all levels of junior hockey, and 18 players of those 10,000 in the NCDC have actually gone into the NHL.
What's really interesting about this too is these junior players are going to be a part of the school system as well. So they'll be attending the high schools in St. Stephen, Fundy High in St. George as well, and also they'll be looking for families to billet these hockey players. And I know my uncle and aunt in St. Stephen, when the Aces were in town, were a part of that program. They loved it. They went to all the games. So there's all these benefits that go along with billeting these hockey players as well. I think there's some pay that goes into it, but also it brings you into the hockey community and gets us all really excited about what this means for our area. And I know that Mayor Craig was here this week. We filmed an episode of Your Town Matters. I should mention that you're on vacation. You're here today, so I got to do Your Town Matters this week, like old times with Mayor John Craig. And this is some news that he was really excited about, not just what it means for sports fans, but also what this means in terms of bolstering that shoulder season in the wintertime. You know, we're always very busy in Charlotte County in the summer months, but winter, it really will bring a lot of economic activity to the community. And here is what Mayor Craig had to say. This is sports related, and I want to let you take the lead on this because it's extremely exciting, not just for Eastern Charlotte, but also Charlotte County in general when it comes to sports.
And I brought my papers along because there's a lot. This just got announced yesterday, and the NCDC Hockey League announced that there's going to be it's a five-team league that's been announced, and this, I don't know if you can see this right here. Maybe I'll show this up the camera. There we go. And this is on our website. It's on our Facebook page as well too. And it got announced yesterday. So Eastern Charlotte actually gets a hockey team. St. Stephen gets a hockey team. Woodstock, Presque Isle, Maine, and Quebec City. So there'll be 5 teams will be playing against each other. Now these are junior level hockey, junior level hockey. There'll be students brought in probably from different countries. They'll bring in to fill they have to try out for the team, and they'll be brought in, and these students, these players will be part of the school system. So the Eastern Charlotte team will be going to the Fundy High, so they have to go to school. They have their practices out of Eastern Charlotte, and they also want them to become part of the community. Now, one of my jobs today is to get it out there too that we're looking for billets for people, for places for these hockey players to live in. So if you're out there and you got an extra room in your house, or you want to become part of the future for hockey in Eastern Charlotte, if you have a room in your house, you want to billet one of these students and become part of your family, also part of the community. They want the students to become part of the community, to be involved with different things and part of the family activities as well too. And I think there is some pay that will go to the person that takes care of them, and you have to feed them and take care of them. But some of these players may end up in the NHL. That's how elite this league is going to be. They're bringing in players that are going to be very competitive. They have to try out to be on the team. So it's very exciting news for Eastern Charlotte, for our arena in Black Harbor, to be and the rivalry between St. Stephen and Eastern Charlotte. There's always been a rivalry between the two communities. The mayor, Alan McEachran, will be really pushing for his team. I'll be pushing for my team, and I think Eastern Charlotte will probably end up giving them a little opportunity. Like, we'll probably pull our goalie in the third period to give them a chance to win, because St. Stephen doesn't usually have a good team. So, we'll do stuff like that but we want to build that rivalry up between the two communities. And
I like that you're starting strong right now with the rivalry.
Yes.
It's a challenge to Mayor McEachran to get in the ring with you. And I don't know who I'm going to root for.
Yeah, no.
You can make your case right now.
It's good news for the community. These students, actually players, will probably end up or could end up in the NHL or part of an NHL part of their franchise. So it's exciting for us to be part of this, and to be named as one of the areas. We've been sitting on this for a while. We had to wait for the league to announce it, and Councillor Adam Hatt has been really the one really pushing hard for this, and it's been hard not to say too much out there, because we had to wait for the league to say it. But if anybody's looking, has a place we can build these, either get a hold of me or Councillor Adam Hatt, and we'd be you just send us your name, and we'll make sure you put it on the list to be able to have one of these hockey players stay in your home for the winter. And
I can say from experience with my family, my Uncle Jim and Aunt Lim in St. Stephen, when the Aces were in town, they had billets, and they were a part of that, and they were really sad to see it go. It was really, it felt like it grew their family, and they really loved and enjoyed the experience so much. I got to go over to have dinner with the hockey players many times, and it was a really beautiful experience. And also having that aspect in the community of these games that take on a different level of excitement, and the players also mentor a lot of the kids from the community too. So what do you think it'll do in terms of building community, not just Eastern Charlotte, but Charlotte County?
We're talking to the different the owners of the hockey team, and they want the players to become part of the community. So if there's something going on, they're going to send the players to that. So say it could be where they're trying to raise money for the food bank or something like that. They want the team to be there. And whatever's going on in the community, they want them to be part of the community. So it's a positive story. They want the kids not to be in trouble. They keep them busy the whole time. So they'll get them down to Black Harbor for their hockey practices and that sort of thing too. So it's good news. It's going to build so much more life into that building. That building's got a lot of life anyway. But this is even going to build it even more, so it's going to be great to see that building filled at all times. Like I say, I'm always pushing for that arena because it's good for the local economy as well too. I went to the Chamber of Commerce their annual meeting the other last week, and I said to them, I need their help. Because when we put money towards the arena, we always get people saying, I don't use the arena, why do we put in so much money? But the spin-offs from that building in the wintertime for all the local businesses in the area, that's a major plus for the area. If you drive around any weekend when there's a hockey tournament going on, the restaurants are full, people are staying in hotels, they're getting gas, they're stopping at local stores and shopping. Even though you may not use it, you may have a relative working one of those businesses that need money, and the spin-off from that is really, really good for our area. So it's not just for hockey, but it's the spin-off to bring people into our area. At the time of the year when you need it the most. Wintertime is slow everywhere, as you know. But when you get a big push for all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of people come for a hockey tournament or even curling for example, St. George, they have a curling arena over there too, so it brings people to the area. So it's not only good for the physical part of it and the mental health, but it's also good for the spin-off in the local economy, which needs that money.
That was Mayor John Craig of Eastern Charlotte discussing the addition of an NCDC team to both Eastern Charlotte as well as St. Stephen. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more of This Week Uncut.
The first thing we wanted to do was make sure that we could use what voice we do have and contact the people in positions of power who are in a position to make a change about this decision.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth. Nathalie, you are taking the lead on the next story. This has to do with library funding. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so the story initially started with a little bit of social media. Library workers in Anglophone West started posting about being laid off, and there wasn't really a lot of information available. And then later on in the week, CBC New Brunswick published a story that suggested that the government had instructed the district to cut about $9.2 million in Anglophone West. And so we started to look at this story knowing that other districts might also have to cut. And eventually it was revealed that they had actually told them, all the districts, to target $43 million. So that's a large chunk of their budget. Their budget is roughly $200 million according to the government. But I wanted to localize this story a little bit. So there's a used bookstore that exists in St. John, and they provide used books at a lower cost, but they also have charitable efforts that they do with literacy across Southwest New Brunswick. So I talked to Emily Dean, one of the co-owners, and her daughter Hayden actually really wanted her to do something about this. Hayden is in the school system and she felt very strongly about it. So they penned a letter to the government and to the district to describe why libraries are important structures within education. I wonder what you thought about these library worker cuts.
I think I come from a different generation. The library was very important to me growing up. It was important to me also in university. And so I wonder what it's like now in terms of people who are elementary school age, especially. For us, it was a big deal every week to go to the library and get a new book out, and it was just part of the process of growing up. So I wonder what the rationale is behind the cuts, and then ultimately what those cuts will mean. Will there be, what type of library system will exist going forward, and what did you garner from doing this research?
Well, libraries, the question that stuck in my mind a lot was libraries are safe spaces for certain students. They're quiet, they're safe, and so what does it mean if the door is closed during lunch hour or during the day when a student might need to go there? But also it's a place of knowledge. Books bring you so much knowledge, and they're written on the pages inside these libraries. So we wanted to ask those questions, and I sat down with Emily Dean to talk about her letter.
The first we heard of it was on social media. Shocking. On Monday, so I guess a week ago Monday, somebody that I know had posted that they heard about this, and my first reaction was, that can't be true. I just assumed it was, the rumor mill going wild, and so took it with a grain of salt. But then it was the Tuesday morning when the CBC article broke with the news. And again, I think the first reaction we all had was shock, but then it quickly transitioned to being frustrated and upset, because libraries, of all things, it just seems so far-fetched to us that that's where we would choose to cut funding.
And so what were your thoughts about what you could potentially do about this decision?
So the team, which is myself, Liz, and my daughter Hayden, there's the three of us, we have a group chat to talk about all things Fableford. And so we dropped the link in the chat. Hayden hadn't heard about it yet, and her first reaction was, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about this? Which I think is just wonderful coming from a teenager in the community. She immediately was outraged and wanted to know how we could help. So we talked about it briefly, and the first thing we wanted to do was make sure that we could use what voice we do have and contact the people in positions of power who are in a position to make a change about this decision. So we sat down and we drafted a letter outlining all of the concerns and all of the reasons why we think this decision should be reversed, and we addressed it to the Premier and the superintendent of the school district affected, Anglophone West, and also the Minister of Education. So we sent that off to all of them, and then quickly followed with sharing it to our social media. We posted the letter on our website so people can see it if they're interested. But that was the second thing we wanted, was that people could know what was going on. That was the purpose of us posting it, and hopefully get the word out and make sure more people understand what's happening so more people can be involved in the conversation.
And for those who might not know, what is Fable Fern? What do you do there?
Yeah, so we are a used bookshop. We're based in St. John, New Brunswick. So Anglophone West actually isn't our school district, but this could happen in our school district. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whose school district it is. We're here to support all schools in New Brunswick and all of our libraries and librarians. So the fact that it's happening in our province, period, was enough that we knew that we had to help. So yeah, like I said, we're based in St. John. We sell used books, bookish accessories, but we do a lot of community outreach. We just launched our educators program, so teachers can apply, educators, library staff, anybody who works in a school can apply for store credit that we then give them so they can purchase books for their students as well. So that's just one thing that we're doing right now. And this has made us kind of rethink how we approach our support as well, because it's very clear that they need more help from us and everybody.
What do you think libraries offer kids throughout their educational experience?
I think it's safe to say that libraries for us, and I think for everybody, should be seen as the cornerstone of our community. Libraries, it's a place to go access books. I think sometimes people don't realize how much kids get out of libraries and how much our library staff are doing, but it's not just a place to get books, which, to be clear, is amazing in and of itself, but it's also a place for them to learn critical thinking skills. They're interacting with the library staff. They're going in and they're looking for books about certain topics. They're learning how to ask questions that get them the answers that they need. They're learning all of these literacy skills and fundamental critical thinking skills that are going to help them succeed in life. If you don't have those skills, it impacts every aspect of your life, from, healthcare. So if you're going to pick up a prescription and you need to read all of these instructions, you need to be able to read what is on there first and foremost, but then know how to interpret that in a safe way so that you're taking your medication effectively. And libraries, while the correlation might not be immediately obvious, it's there because that's where you're learning those skills and you're having the chance to interact and learn how to develop those literacy skills.
Well, I know for me as a young child, it was a safe space to go to the library.
Yeah.
And when this happened, the first thing that came to my mind was, gosh, there's going to be nowhere for kids to go at lunchtime, or when they need a place to go that's quiet and that has a place for them to kind of sit and feel safe, I guess.
And you hit the nail on the head there. That was the next thing we said too. I think it might have even been the first thing. There was a lot of feelings we were happening when this news came out, because we're so passionate about books and reading and access to libraries and just access to knowledge in general. And we talked about the exact same thing, because I was also that kid. The library was a safe, quiet space. If I needed to get away from what was happening, I can remember spending lots of lunch breaks hanging out in between the stacks of the library. And it was just somewhere that you could go and always know that it was safe and it was kind of removed from everything else. And I think taking that away, especially now, there's just so much going on. Kids go through, it's a whole different experience raising a kid now than it was when I was growing up. And there's a whole different world of challenges, and they need that kind of quiet, safe space sometimes to step away from what's going on around them.
That was Emily Dean, the co-owner of Fable Fern Bookshop in St. John. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with This Week Uncut.
She had received a cease and desist from Concordia University, the very university she attends for journalism school as well. And yeah, she received a cease and desist regarding a access to information request.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
We are now also joined by Aiden Rayner, who is joining our team at CHCO-TV and The Courier. He will be with us for the summer. Aiden, welcome. Your first day was this week, Thursday, and we threw you right into a press conference with Premier Susan Holt. We're going to get to that in a minute, but first I wanted to let people at home know you do have ties to this part of the world, but you are a student of Concordia University. You spent your last year actually, overseas studying abroad in the UK. Next year you're going to be the editor-in-chief of the Concordian. You are here with us for the summer, but you were in Ottawa just a couple weeks ago to receive the World Press Freedom Student Achievement Award for your work at Concordia. Tell us, first of all, what was that award for?
Yeah, so that award was for an investigation I did with one of my colleagues at the paper, the editor-in-chief that I'm taking over from. And it started off because she had received a cease and desist from Concordia University, the very university she attends for journalism school as well. And yeah, she received a cease and desist regarding a access to information request. And yeah, that was as justifiably so as kind of scary as the university you attend is sending you a cease and desist. And so she was kind of filled me in, and I thought that was kind of egregious. And we compared them to 29 universities across Canada. So we filed one of the same requests to 29 universities across Canada, and we got the description of each request, the delay time, so when it was opened and when was it kind of sent, and then also too we got to see what universities were accepting and what they were denying and accepting in part. And yeah, we ranked universities nationally, and the human part of the story was we talked to a bunch of other student journalists across Canada who none had received cease and desist, but they'd been not harassed but taken advantage of by administrators at their very own universities, because that's kind of a tough position to be in, and like right at the start of your career as well. And so yeah, that's what we did, and we've continued the project now to go through. It's called the Transparent University Project. So we're going to grow, and what it now holds are basically requests of requests. So if you're looking for previous requests made to universities across Canada and post-secondary institutions as well, you can go on there and find records and contracts and whatnot, and file piggybacks off of that. And then it also has a generator as well. So it's for universities at the moment, but I'm planning on making it smarter and better. But yeah, so you can file an access to information request, because the wording is quite prickly. So it is in bilingual. It's in both languages as well, so it's depending on your province and stuff and the university you're attending. But yeah, then coming here was quite natural. My grandmother lives here, and so while I haven't attended the high school, I know the Herring quite well. And you know, the CHCO-TV and The Courier is a model that should be followed across Canada. It's really unique, unfortunately, in that not many communities have independent journalism that's produced from people in the community that you see in line at the grocery store. And I think this is a model we need to be, as a nation, championing for the future. But yeah.
Well, we appreciate, especially as a young journalist, an award-winning journalist such as yourself, to see that in what we're doing and to want to be a part of this team. I think people just from this initial introduction can see why we feel so fortunate to have you here. Nathalie's been off this week, so I threw you right away on your first day into knowing that you could handle it, a conference with Premier Susan Holt, her weekly tariff and trade war conferences that she's been holding ever since the trade war began. She did mention, though, what was interesting is that's her last conference as we know them for the time being. She's going to come back in about 2 weeks' time with a new model of how she is transparent about what's going on with the trade war. I know interprovincial trade has been one of the big issues that they are handling right now from her office, and that was one of the questions you were able to ask. How was that experience?
It was quite interesting for a first day to be thrown in like that. But yeah, no, it was the press conference wasn't very trade focused, very much focused on what's going on with NB Power. But I had asked about the new cabinet and what the Premier is hoping to see from specifically Sean Fraser as Minister that's responsible for the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. And she had said she wanted to see more continuity with the agency and how it supports New Brunswickers. And yeah, so that's development of ports and whatnot in the province. This kind of see us through this kind of tumultuous time. But yeah, and then I also asked about the expiry dates of the memorandums of understanding between now at the moment between Ontario and Newfoundland, and they have no expiry date and no review date, which is interesting because that means a permanent shift in interprovincial trade in Canada, which is like a major barrier, trade and labor, which is another one that not many people pick up on. But this will be a really interesting permanent shift in interprovincial trade in Canada, which hopefully we'll see the positive effects of going forward. And it's nice to see that New Brunswick is leading the charge and really flying the flag to have more free trade within Canada. And we should hear soon, at least from the press conference, we should hear soon for more MOUs between PEI, Nova Scotia, and another for Manitoba and Quebec. Those should be coming out soon, and they'll follow more or less. I'd followed up with the press office, and they confirmed that they'll be more or less the same deals and agreements between Ontario and Newfoundland.
Obviously, these press conferences are so important. Sometimes you ask a question that hasn't really been thought of before, and I know with your expiration question, they got back to you after the fact. We'll hear from a clip that we play now that they didn't necessarily have the answer in the conference, but they emailed you back with that there is no expiration date. Here is Aiden Rayner in the Premier's press conference on Thursday.
Thank you very much. Afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start by flagging that this will be the last of the weekly tariff addresses, but we are looking for your feedback and input on best ways for us to engage and communicate with you going forward. And that extends to the media as well as to the New Brunswickers who might be both following along live or after the fact. We would welcome your input on ways that we can make sure that you are up to speed on what's happening in New Brunswick, that your questions are getting answered, and then we are creating the right opportunities to engage. So we plan to come back in about 2 weeks with having received your feedback and a bit of a new approach going forward. But one of the reasons why we've chosen to make this the last of our tariff updates is because the tariff situation has somewhat stabilized. We have a new and stable federal government in place. They have now named a clear team of people who will be leading the negotiations with the U.S. and the work to remove the barriers to trade that have been put in place by the President. New Brunswick companies have reached out and have indicated to us that they are engaging with the support folks at Opportunities New Brunswick and the Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture and Fisheries and beyond to get the expert help they need through this process. And so we think that the level of threat that prompted us to provide regular and consistent communications to New Brunswickers has diminished. I was really happy to see two fierce advocates for New Brunswick find their way into the cabinet of the Prime Minister. Our team will be sending a delegation to Ottawa in very short order to make clear face-to-face the priorities of our province, the uniqueness of our province, and our desire for a strong partnership with the federal government as we seek to advance opportunities for collaboration, for nation building, and for growth. I'm going to take the opportunity to thank New Brunswickers who have been both following along these weekly addresses, who have expressed to us concerns about tariffs, about trade, about commerce, and who have shown up for New Brunswickers in the way that they have bought local over these past many weeks. I hope those habits continue and grow, because it has made a difference to New Brunswick companies to have local customers buying their products in larger and larger numbers. And I'm going to reinforce that now is the time to plan your New Brunswick vacation. We have seen significant increase in bookings in the tourism sector. The tourism team has been hard at work marketing New Brunswick to Ontario and Quebec and the United States, and we're starting to see the booking results as a result of that. But I hope New Brunswickers take the opportunity to explore all that we have to offer in our beautiful province. That's one of the reasons why we announced this week that we're making provincial parks more affordable, discounting entry fees by 25% to make it a little easier, a little more affordable for you and your family to go and experience one of our most beautiful assets, which is our nature and our parks. And they open this weekend. Tomorrow is opening weekend, starting May 16th. And so I hope everyone gets the chance to get out and have a glorious vacation in nature at low cost right here at home. The other piece that I want to address just briefly, because it is something that is on our minds on a daily basis, NB Power and the increasing cost to New Brunswickers for NB Power rates has been something that has been on our mind, not just for months, but actually for years, as our team worked in opposition to try to convince the previous government to do something about the ever-increasing power rates that New Brunswickers were facing. We committed in our platform to try to make rates more affordable by discounting them by 10%. We implemented that commitment as of January 1st, but we are under a rate schedule that sees rates increasing by almost 10% last year, the year before, or sorry, this year in April, the year before, and likely scheduled to increase in similar double-digit growth in the future. And so that's why the Minister of Energy announced this week that we are adjusting the target that NB Power faces to reduce their debt to equity ratio. That is one of the things that was putting pressure on rate increases and meant that it was likely that their next application for another rate increase was going to be in those double digits. And so taking some of that pressure off, we think gives a chance for those increases to be smaller and to represent hopefully less pain than New Brunswickers have seen so far. That's one step that we're taking, along with the 10% discount that we've made. And as folks probably know, NB Power is presenting to public accounts right now the results of the audit that they undertook. Our government has asked them to produce a report within 30 days to demonstrate actions that they are going to take to provide New Brunswickers with more information and more support for what they've experienced in terms of rate spikes and increases. And then there's the next piece. So I want to make this clear that in the first instance, we discounted rates by 10% as an effort to make life more affordable in terms of electricity costs. In the second instance, we've now changed the target for debt reduction to a further year to 2029 to take pressure off of their next rate increase application, in the hopes that that will then be a lesser increase to benefit New Brunswickers. There is the work that NB Power is doing now on the audit in relation to the spikes. And then there is the comprehensive review that we announced a number of weeks ago, because all of these measures are short-term measures put in place. We need to look at what the fundamental, long-term, sustainable model is for the provision of electricity to New Brunswickers that is affordable and reliable and delivers New Brunswickers what they want and need in their power. So there will be an update on the next step in the comprehensive review coming very shortly. We look forward to introducing you to who the leads for that review will be and what the next steps in that process are. And our goal is to have that review done in less than a year's time, so that we are in a position to implement the kind of changes needed to have our utility on the right footing to deliver New Brunswickers the kind of affordability and reliability that they're looking for from their utility. We understand how important energy is to New Brunswickers as people who need that energy to heat their homes, to go to work, to New Brunswick businesses that need that energy to build their products and services and help grow our economy. And so we are putting in the work with the comprehensive review to make sure that we have retooled our utility to deliver affordable and sustainable energy for the future, while also putting in place the 10% discount and now the removal of the 2020 or the push out of the 2029 deadline to take pressure off of rate increases to make sure that New Brunswickers have every opportunity for affordable energy in the months and weeks to come while we do the comprehensive review process.
Aiden Rayner, CHCO-TV.
Hi. Hi, thank you. What do you hope to see from the new federal cabinet, specifically from Sean Fraser as minister responsible for the Atlantic Canada Opportunity Agency? And how do you think the agency can better serve New Brunswickers through this time?
Oh, that's a great question, Aiden. Thank you. We're pleased to see, obviously, a local. It hasn't always been somebody from the Atlantic responsible for ACOA, so we're very happy that that's the case with an experienced minister in Sean Fraser. And we hope to see that ACOA continues to move in somewhat the direction it's been moving, really responsive, focused on the priorities of the provinces that it serves. And so we're going to be looking for ACOA to be a partner with us in the expansion of our modular housing industry, the expansion of our ports as critical elements of trade infrastructure, the support to businesses in New Brunswick, both those who are trade and tariff impacted, as well as those who are looking to grow and become more competitive and more productive in their adoption of new technology and automation solutions, and in the expansion of their sales and marketing opportunities to new countries and new places. And so really looking for ACOA to be a full economic partner with New Brunswick in helping our companies get competitive and grow good-paying jobs here in New Brunswick that align with some of the strategic priorities that we've articulated to the federal government.
Aiden, your follow-up?
And will the interprovincial deals that you've been making, do they have an expiry date? And if so, when would those expire?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't believe they have an expiry date. They may have a review date, but let me go and get the exact right answer for you and come back to you.
That was Premier Susan Holt taking questions from CHCO-TV's Aiden Rayner. We're going to look ahead, though, because I'm finally back from vacation. But I have a lot of almost. I've got a few more days left, but I have a lot of catching up to do.
This is how dedicated you are. You're here on your week off just to film this week Uncut, so we're always appreciative of your dedication to CHCO and The Courier. And I have to say, you're the reason that I covered the fire. You gave me the phone call. You're still following news while you were supposed to be on your week off, but I appreciate very much how much you care, not just about your job, but about this region.
Some call it dedication, some call it craziness, whatever is your flavor.
It's a mix, it's a package deal. Looking ahead to this week, we will have some exciting news. It's bittersweet, really. Debbie Lord, who has run the youth center in our community right here in St. Andrews, and really our neighbors here at CHCO and The Courier, they're in our backyard, quite literally. There'll be a community barbecue to celebrate her retirement. So we're expecting everyone from the community, from town council, town staff. I know MLA Kathy Bacchus is coming as well to celebrate Debbie and the incredible work she's done here. She was a recipient of Volunteer of the Year Award last year from Big Brothers and Sisters of St. John. So really her impact on New Brunswick goes beyond Charlotte County. She's made an impression on so many people's lives, and I'm sure that you should bring a box of Kleenex with you because it will be an incredibly moving day.
They spoke really fondly of her at the last St. Andrews Council meeting. So I'm really excited to actually meet her and see what people have to say.
I know that the kids at Vincent Massey School had a Debbie Lord Day this past week, and I can't believe I missed it. They all wore mismatched socks. It's kind of a Debbie signature, as well as a baseball cap to show their love and appreciation for the character that she is and the spirit that she brings everywhere. She really is a special person. So while she'll be missed at the youth center, she certainly will be a part of our community for a long time, and I look forward to bidding her farewell from the youth center, but definitely a friend for life.
And we have 2 councils coming up next week. I'm going to dive back into the deep end of the pool, so to speak. We're going to go to St. Stephen, and you're going to go to Eastern Charlotte. So we have a lot on the agenda for the next week.
A lot on the agenda. I got off easy this week. There was no council, so you picked a nice week to have off. It made my life a lot easier, but I do so much appreciate you coming in with us today, and we appreciate having Aiden Rayner on the team too. He's definitely going to make this a summer to remember, and it will be exciting to have him hit the ground running.
I'm excited to have another journalist on the team, so yeah.
Thank you for watching This Week Uncut. We'll see you next week. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.